The story of the Oregon Treaty, a pivotal moment in North American history. In the vast tapestry of historical events that shaped the North American continent, few moments stand as monumentally as the Oregon Treaty of 1846. This extraordinary agreement would fundamentally transform the geographical and political landscape of what would become the United States and Canada, setting the stage for an entirely new chapter of continental history. The narrative begins in a time of immense territorial ambition, where two global powers, the United States and Great Britain, stood locked in a complex dance of diplomacy, negotiation, and competing territorial claims. The Oregon Country, a sprawling wilderness stretching from the Pacific coast to the Rocky Mountains, was a prize that both nations viewed with intense strategic interest. Imagine a landscape untouched by European settlement, a pristine expanse of dense forests, towering mountains, raging rivers, and vast plains. Native American tribes had called this region home for thousands of years, their intricate cultures and sophisticated societies living in harmony with the land long before European explorers arrived. The Chinook, Nez Perce, Coyote, and numerous other indigenous nations had developed profound connections to this remarkable territory, their traditions deeply rooted in its diverse ecosystems. The roots of the territorial dispute can be traced back to early maritime exploration. Spanish, British, Russian, and American expeditions had all been drawn to the Pacific Northwest, each nation believing they held legitimate claims to different portions of this magnificent landscape. The maritime fur trade had initially sparked European interest, with sea otter pelts fetching extraordinary prices in Asian markets. British exploration, particularly through the Hudson's Bay Company, had established a robust presence in the region. Traders like Dr. John McLoughlin had created strategic outposts such as Fort Vancouver, which became a crucial hub of economic and administrative activity. These settlements represented more than mere trading posts, they were the nascent seeds of potential colonial expansion. American interest grew simultaneously, fueled by a potent combination of economic opportunity and the burgeoning ideology of manifest destiny. Politicians and settlers alike viewed westward expansion as a divine mandate, believing that the United States was destined to stretch from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. This philosophical perspective transformed territorial acquisition from a geopolitical strategy into a quasi-religious mission. The Lewis and Clark expedition of 1804 to 1806 had provided Americans with their first comprehensive understanding of the Oregon Country's geography. Their detailed maps and reports ignited the imagination of countless settlers, merchants, and politicians. The expedition revealed a land of extraordinary beauty and seemingly limitless potential, sparking waves of migration and economic speculation. As tensions mounted, the Oregon Country became a diplomatic powder keg. Both the United States and Great Britain claimed sovereignty over the entire region, with neither side willing to compromise. The British argued based on prior exploration and established trading networks, while Americans countered with claims of agricultural potential and the moral imperative of westward expansion. The political rhetoric grew increasingly heated. American politicians like Senator Lewis Cass championed aggressive territorial expansion, using inflammatory slogans like 54-40 or fight. This provocative stance suggested that the United States would accept nothing less than complete control of the territory, potentially risking war with Great Britain to achieve its objectives. British considerations were more nuanced. The Hudson's Bay Company had significant economic investments in the region, and the British Crown was hesitant to jeopardize these valuable trading interests. Moreover, maintaining peaceful relations with the United States was a strategic priority, as potential conflict could destabilize global economic and political arrangements. The diplomatic negotiations were extraordinarily complex. Representatives from both nations engaged in intricate discussions, carefully weighing geopolitical, economic, and strategic considerations. The American delegation was led by President James K. Polk, a shrewd politician committed to territorial expansion, while the British were represented by sophisticated diplomats who understood the delicate balance of international relations. Ultimately, compromise emerged as the most rational path forward. The Oregon Treaty, signed on June 15, 1846, established the 49th parallel as the boundary between American and British territories. This solution effectively divided the Oregon country, with the United States gaining territories that would become the states of Oregon, Washington, and parts of Idaho and Montana. Great Britain retained control of what would become British Columbia. The treaty's implications were profound and far-reaching. For Native American communities, it represented another pivotal moment of territorial restructuring that would dramatically alter their traditional lands and ways of life. The agreement paid little heed to indigenous sovereignty, reflecting the colonial mindset of the era. Economically, the treaty opened vast territories for settlement and development. Thousands of settlers began moving westward, establishing farms, towns, and new economic networks. The landscape that had been pristine wilderness would be transformed within decades, reflecting the relentless push of European American expansion. Technological advances played a crucial role in this transformation. The development of transcontinental railroads, improvements in agricultural machinery, and increasingly sophisticated communication networks accelerated the settlement and economic development of these newly defined territories. The Oregon Treaty also represented a significant moment in the broader context of 19th-century global politics. It demonstrated the ability of nations to resolve potentially explosive territorial disputes through diplomatic negotiation, rather than military conflict. The peaceful resolution set an important precedent for international relations. For the United States, the treaty was a crucial milestone in the ideology of manifest destiny. It validated the nation's expansionist vision, and provided tangible proof of the country's growing continental ambitions. The acquired territories would prove immensely valuable, rich in natural resources and offering extraordinary agricultural and economic potential. The British perspective was equally strategic. By avoiding a potentially devastating conflict and maintaining cordial relations with the United States, they preserved their global strategic interests. The treaty allowed them to focus on other colonial endeavors while maintaining a significant presence in North America through Canada. Geological and ecological transformations followed the treaty's implementation. Forests were logged, prairies were plowed, rivers were dammed, and entire ecosystems underwent radical reconstructions. The landscape that had been shaped by millennia of indigenous land management practices would be dramatically reimagined through European American agricultural and industrial paradigms. Demographic shifts were equally dramatic. Native American populations experienced catastrophic declines due to disease, displacement, and systematic policies of removal. Settler populations grew exponentially, fundamentally altering the social and cultural fabric of the region. The treaty's legacy is complex and multifaceted. It represents simultaneously a moment of diplomatic achievement and a testament to the colonial ambitions that would reshape the North American continent. The negotiation demonstrated the potential for peaceful resolution of international disputes, while also reflecting the deeply problematic attitudes toward indigenous sovereignty that characterized the era. From a contemporary perspective, the Oregon Treaty serves as a powerful reminder of the intricate processes through which national boundaries are established. It reveals how geopolitical decisions are shaped by a combination of economic interests, political ideologies, and strategic considerations. The treaty's signatories could hardly have imagined the profound transformations their agreement would precipitate. What seemed like a diplomatic compromise would become a foundational moment in the creation of modern national identities in the United States and Canada. Conclusion: the Oregon Treaty of 1846 stands as a pivotal historical moment, embodying the complex interactions between territorial ambition, diplomatic negotiation, and cultural transformation. Neither a simple triumph of American expansion nor a straightforward British diplomatic victory, the treaty represents a nuanced moment of international cooperation and conflict. Its significance extends far beyond the immediate geographical boundaries it established. The treaty symbolizes broader historical processes of colonization, negotiation, and cultural interaction. It reminds us that national boundaries are not immutable or natural constructs but the products of specific historical circumstances, negotiations, and power dynamics. As future generations continue to grapple with the legacies of colonial expansion, the Oregon Treaty offers a compelling case study in the complexities of territorial acquisition, diplomatic resolution, and the ongoing process of understanding and reconciling historical narratives. The story of the Oregon Treaty is ultimately a human story, of ambition, negotiation, conflict, and compromise. It challenges us to look beyond simplistic narratives of national triumph and recognize the intricate, often painful processes through which modern national identities are constructed.